I could feel the weight of everyone's eyes on me as I walked down the aisle, but I didn't care. Not today. Not when the man waiting for me at the altar was the one I loved, the one I had chosen. There was a soft hum of whispers, but I blocked them out. It didn't matter what they thought. Are you nervous? Daniel's voice was soft, his smile a little strained as he looked up at me from his wheelchair. I smiled, my heart swelling. Nervous? No, I'm just excited to marry you. His lips curved into a tender smile. I'm excited too. He adjusted the cufflinks on his sleeves, his hands trembling slightly. I took his hand in mine and squeezed it. You look amazing. He let out a breath, his eyes softening as he looked at me. You look perfect. I wanted to kiss him right then, but we were in front of everyone. Instead, I gave him another smile. You always say that, but I don't think anyone's ever been as beautiful as you are to me. The priest cleared his throat, bringing us back to the present. We're gathered here today to celebrate the union of Daniel, and I barely heard the rest of his words. My eyes were locked on Daniel's, my heart beating wildly in my chest. This was it. We were finally doing it. We were committing to each other, for better or for worse. When the priest asked if anyone had any objections, I was sure the silence around us was suffocating, but I didn't care. I couldn't hear anything except for the rush of my own heartbeat and the quiet strength of Daniel's gaze. Do you, Daniel, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? The priest asked, turning to him. His voice was low, but steady. I do. My throat tightened. It wasn't the first time he'd said those words, but today, they meant something entirely different. They were the start of a new chapter for us, one where the world might not always understand, but we'd always have each other. And do you, Claire, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? The priest asked me. I barely hesitated. I do. A slight grin tugged at the corner of Daniel's lips, and I couldn't help but laugh softly. His gaze was so intense, so full of love. I felt like I could melt in that moment. Then I pronounce you husband and wife, the priest declared. You may kiss the bride. I leaned down, gently cupping Daniel's face in my hands, and pressed my lips to his. His kiss was everything I had ever dreamed of, soft, loving, and full of promise. The crowd erupted into applause, but I didn't care about them. All that mattered was Daniel, my husband, the man I was going to spend the rest of my life with. We pulled away, and he gave me a small smile, the kind that always made my heart flutter. I love you, Claire. I love you more, I whispered back, and the world seemed to fade around us. After the ceremony, we stepped out into the sunlit courtyard, surrounded by family and friends. I felt their eyes on us again, but this time, I didn't care. They could whisper all they wanted. I had Daniel, and that was enough. You know they're talking, Daniel said quietly, his fingers tightening around mine. I don't care, I answered, squeezing his hand back. Let them talk. This is our day, and no one can take that away from us. Daniel didn't say anything, but the faint flicker of uncertainty in his eyes made me want to shield him from the world even more. The world could be cruel to people who were different, but Daniel was so much more than the chair he sat in. I had seen his heart, the love he held for me, and that was all that mattered. We joined the others for pictures, but I noticed how people stepped away from him, how they avoided looking directly at him, as if his disability made him unworthy of their attention. I wanted to scream at them. I wanted to tell them they didn't know him like I did, but I just smiled and held his hand tightly, determined to show the world that I was proud to be by his side. Ready to leave? I asked. When the photos finally stopped, Daniel nodded. I can't wait to get away from here. We made our way to the car, and as the doors closed behind us, the quiet of the world outside seemed to settle into the space between us. I leaned my head against his shoulder, feeling the warmth of his body, the steady rhythm of his breathing. I know this isn't going to be easy, I murmured, but I'm ready. We'll face it all together. I know, Daniel whispered back, his voice filled with a vulnerability that made my heart ache. I'll be with you, Claire, always. We drove off into the night, and though there was still a storm of judgment and doubt in my mind, I held on to the thought that we were going to build something beautiful. Together, we could face anything, and for now, that was enough. Life with Daniel was quieter than I had imagined. At first, I reveled in the moments of stillness. There was something comforting about the simple routine we had settled into, waking up together, making breakfast, helping him get dressed. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. I loved him deeply, and I knew he loved me back, even if he didn't always say it. One evening, I was sitting beside him on the couch, reading a book while he scrolled through his phone. The silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was just quiet. But then, I looked up and caught him looking away, his eyes fixed on the window, distant. A pang of unease twisted in my stomach. "Daniel?" I said softly, setting the book down. "Is everything okay?" He glanced back at me, his face quickly masking whatever emotion had been there before. "Yeah, just tired," he muttered, leaning back into the cushions. I nodded, but the flicker of doubt inside me grew stronger. I'd been pushing it down ever since we got married, this feeling that something was slipping through my fingers. "You've been tired a lot lately," he sighed, closing his eyes for a moment. "I guess it's just the usual." I tried to shake off the nagging feeling. "If you're feeling down, you can talk to me, you know. I'm here for you." He didn't respond immediately. Instead, he just nodded, his lips tight. "I know," he said, his voice quiet, almost empty. I watched him for a moment, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. "It's not about me, is it?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. "I'm not overwhelming you, am I?" He opened his eyes then, meeting my gaze for the first time in what felt like hours. "No, Claire, you're not overwhelming me," he said quickly, almost quickly. I forced a smile, though my heart wasn't in it. "Then what is it? You've been shutting me out for days." He shifted uncomfortably. "It's nothing. Just my head, my body. You know you can tell me anything, right?" I reached for his hand, but he pulled it away before I could touch him. It was subtle, but I noticed. "Stop," he said, his voice sharp for the first time. "I don't want to talk about it." I froze. The distance between us suddenly felt miles wide. "I just want to understand," I whispered. Daniel let out a long breath, then turned his gaze back to the window. "You wouldn't understand, Claire. You couldn't." I felt my heart drop. "What do you mean by that?" He stayed silent for a long moment, the words hanging in the air like a storm waiting to break. Finally, he spoke again, his voice quieter this time. "I don't need your pity. I don't need you to feel sorry for me because of what happened to me." I blinked, unsure if I'd heard him right. "I don't pity you, Daniel. I love you. I chose to marry you because I wanted to. Because you're more than." I stopped myself before I said too much. But he was already shaking his head, his eyes full of frustration. "You don't get it. You don't see how hard it is for me to feel like this." He gestured to his wheelchair, his face tight. "To feel like I'm a burden, a problem. You're always looking at me like you need to fix me, like you need to carry me. I hate it." My chest tightened. I tried to process his words, tried to understand where they were coming from, but all I could feel was the sharp sting of rejection. "You think I'm only here out of pity," he added bitterly. "That I'm just something you have to take care of." I shook my head, my voice shaking as I spoke. "That's not it at all. I love you, Daniel. Not because you need me, but because I want to be here. I want to be with you." His eyes flashed with a hint of something dark, something painful. "I don't want your love out of obligation. I want you to love me for who I am, not for who you think I am or who you want me to be." My heart broke at the rawness in his voice. I had always tried to be strong for him, tried to be the one who held everything together, but now I wasn't sure anymore. "Is that what you think? That I'm only here because I feel sorry for you?" I whispered, trying to hold back the tears that threatened to spill. Daniel turned away, his jaw clenched. I don't know what to think anymore." I could feel my heart cracking open. "I've never once looked at you like that. Never." I reached for his hand again, and this time, he didn't pull away. "I love you, Daniel. Just you. And I'm sorry if I've made you feel anything less than that." His hand was cold, but he didn't pull it away. I felt a tear slip down my cheek, though I wiped it quickly, hoping he wouldn't see. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he said, his voice softening, but there was still a distance between us. I don't want you to feel trapped." "I'm not trapped, Daniel," I whispered. "I'm right here with you. I always will be." For a moment, neither of us spoke. I didn't know what else to say. The silence between us was thick, suffocating. But at least we were talking now. That was something, wasn't it? "You don't have to take care of me like this," he murmured finally. I'm not someone you need to save." I looked at him, and for the first time in a long while, I saw how much pain he was hiding. "I'm not trying to save you, Daniel," I said softly. "I just want to love you. I want us to figure this out together." He looked at me then, his eyes searching mine. And for the first time, I felt like maybe, just maybe, he believed me. It was a rainy evening, the kind where the sky seems to close in on you, heavy and gray. I was tidying up Daniel's desk, pushing aside papers, books, and empty coffee mugs when something caught my eye. A leather-bound journal, its surface worn, tucked neatly into the corner of the desk drawer. I had seen it before, but never thought to open it. He'd always kept it hidden, and I respected his privacy. But tonight, curiosity clawed at me. I told myself it was just a glance, just to see what he wrote about his day. But as soon as my fingers brushed over the cover, a flicker of hesitation passed through me. My stomach knotted, but I couldn't bring myself to stop. Slowly, I opened it. The first page was dated, the handwriting neat but sharp, almost too deliberate. I began to read, telling myself it was just harmless curiosity. But the words on the page weren't what I expected. She looks at me like I'm a child, like I need saving. I hate it. I hate the way she says she loves me, but I know it's pity. She doesn't love me. She loves the idea of me. She sees me as something broken. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. I blinked, trying to steady myself. I had to be misinterpreting it. It couldn't be about me. But the more I read, the clearer it became. I'm nothing but a burden to her. Every time she touches me, I feel it, her pity, her need to take care of me. She looks at me like I'm some fragile thing that needs her constant attention. She doesn't get it. I hate it. I couldn't breathe. My fingers gripped the journal tightly, and I forced myself to read on. I'm trapped in this life. I thought she would love me, but I was wrong. She married me because she felt sorry for me. I'm not a man to her. I'm a project, something to fix. Each sentence felt like a punch to my gut. My hands trembled as I turned the pages, each one filled with more venom, more disgust for the life we had built together. My mind raced, my thoughts crashing together in a storm I couldn't control. Was this really how he saw me? How he saw us? I can't tell her how I really feel. I'm too ashamed to admit it. Every time I see the way she looks at me, I want to crawl into a hole and disappear. She doesn't deserve this. She deserves someone whole. Someone who can give her everything she wants. My vision blurred. The tears came before I could stop them. I wiped my eyes, but the pain didn't go away. How could he think this? How could he believe that I was only with him out of guilt? Every ounce of love I had given him, every sacrifice, every moment I thought we were building something beautiful, it was all meaningless to him. I didn't know how long I sat there, reading his words over and over, the words that tore through my chest, ripping apart the foundation I had built around my love for him. I should have stopped. I should have put the journal down and walked away. But I didn't. I couldn't. I needed to understand. Why hadn't he told me this? Why had he kept it all inside? The last page was almost too much to bear. She deserves more than this. I don't want to be the man she has to take care of. I want her to find someone who can give her everything I can't. I want her to be happy, even if it's not with me. The final sentence hit me like a tidal wave. I slammed the journal shut, the sound of the leather hitting the desk loud in the quiet room. I could barely catch my breath, my chest tight with a mixture of betrayal and heartbreak. The man I loved, the man I had given myself to, saw me as a burden. Why? I whispered to the empty room, the tears streaming down my face. Now, why didn't you tell me? I sat there for what felt like hours, unable to move. I couldn't shake the image of Daniel's words from my mind. The doubt, the bitterness, the overwhelming feeling that everything I had believed in was nothing more than a fragile illusion. What were we even doing? Was this really love? Or had it all been a mistake? When Daniel finally came into the room, I didn't even look up at him. The journal was still on the desk, the pages open, exposed. He froze when he saw it, his face going pale. I could feel the tension crackling in the air. "Claire," he said quietly, his voice shaking. "You weren't supposed to read that." I stood up, the hurt too deep to hide. "I didn't mean to. But why? Why would you think that? Why would you think I pity you?" His face fell, his hands curling into fists. "I never wanted you to know that side of me," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "I didn't want you to see how much I was struggling, how much I hate myself for what happened to me. But why didn't you tell me?" My voice cracked. "Why didn't you let me help you? All I ever wanted was to love you." "I know," he replied, his voice full of pain. "But it's not that simple. I didn't want you to feel like you had to love me because of my disability. I didn't want to be your burden." Tears welled up in my eyes again. "You think loving you is a burden? He didn't answer right away. He just looked at me, his face full of regret. I never meant for it to be this way, Claire. I didn't want to drag you down with me. I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. The love I thought was so pure, so real, was now tainted with doubt. I don't know what to do with this, I whispered. I don't know how to fix this. Daniel's silence was all the answer I needed. The truth was, maybe we couldn't fix it. Maybe the damage had already been done. And maybe, just maybe, we weren't who we thought we were. I couldn't hold it in any longer. The words from Daniel's journal burned inside me, and I had to confront him. I had to know the truth. As I walked into the living room where he sat, I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. My hands were shaking, but I forced them to steady as I spoke. Daniel, I began, my voice unsteady. We need to talk. He glanced up, his expression unreadable. About what? I took a deep breath, holding up the journal. About this. About how you really feel. His eyes flickered to the journal, and I saw a flicker of something guilt, regret, but then it was gone, replaced by a hardness I hadn't seen before. He didn't say anything, and the silence between us stretched, thick and suffocating. Finally, he spoke, his voice sharp. You went through my things. I flinched, the words stinging more than I expected. I didn't mean to, but I had to know, Daniel. I had to know why you think I'm with you out of pity. His face hardened. You really wanted to know, huh? Is that what you were hoping to find? Some grand romantic notion? A hero's story? I froze. His words hit me like a slap. What are you talking about? I whispered. You wanted the fairy tale, Claire, he said, his voice colder now. But I'm not your hero. I'm not some prize you get to feel good about yourself for saving. He paused, his eyes flashing with something darker. I'm just a man who's broken. And you're just here because you feel sorry for me. I stared at him, my heart aching in a way I didn't know it could. That's not true. I love you, Daniel. I married you because I wanted to. Because you're everything to me. His laugh was bitter, cutting through the air between us. You don't get it. Do you? He spat. You can't love me the way you say you do. Not when I'm like this. I'm a burden. I always will be. I felt the words, each one slashing through the hope I'd held onto for so long. You're not a burden, I said, my voice shaking. I don't see you like that. He stood up suddenly, his chair scraping against the floor. Well, maybe you should. Maybe you should realize that you're not some saint for loving me. I'm not some broken thing you can fix with your pity. My chest tightened as the anger in his voice filled the room. This isn't about pity, I whispered, but even as I said it, I wasn't sure I believed myself anymore. Then what is it about? He asked, his voice raising. What do you really want from me, Claire? What do you expect from me? Do you expect me to be some perfect husband who can give you everything you want? Because I can't. I can't be that man. I was shaking now, the hurt too much to contain. I never asked you to be perfect, I said, tears welling up. I just wanted you. I wanted to be with you, Daniel. He shook his head, looking away. You want a fairy tale, Claire, but that's not who I am. I'm not some romantic dream. I'm just a man who can't live up to your expectations. The words burned. And I'm just a disappointment to you. Isn't that it? I snapped, unable to hold it in anymore. He didn't respond. He just stood there, his jaw clenched, eyes hard as stone. I could feel the walls between us growing taller, and the space we once shared seemed to shrink, to become foreign. I don't even recognize you anymore, I said softly, almost to myself. Maybe that's because you never really knew me, he replied. His voice, cold and final, the air in the room felt like it was choking me. I wanted to scream, to throw the journal at him, to shake him and make him see reason, but I couldn't. I couldn't even move. The man I had married, the one I had believed in with all my heart, was slipping away, piece by piece, and all I could do was watch. I wanted to reach out, to take his hand, to tell him I was still here, but the words caught in my throat. For the first time, I wasn't sure if he wanted me there. Maybe you're right, I said quietly, my voice breaking. Maybe I've been so caught up in the idea of us that I've missed what's really happening. Maybe I don't know you anymore. His eyes softened for a moment, but only for a second, before the hardness returned. Maybe you should just let go, Claire, he said, his words cutting like ice. Maybe it's time for you to accept that this is who I am, and that I'm not what you wanted me to be. I looked at him, my heart shattering with every word. And what about what I need? What about what we need, Daniel? He shook his head, backing away. I can't give you what you need. I can't give you anything. The words echoed in the silence between us, louder than anything he had said before. He couldn't give me anything. And maybe, deep down, I had known that all along. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. But I stood there, frozen, unable to do either. Maybe it's time, he said, his voice quieter now, for both of us to admit that this isn't working. I felt the world tilt beneath me. What do you mean? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He didn't answer. Instead, he turned and walked away, leaving me standing there, staring at the empty space he had left behind. I had just finished tidying up the kitchen when I heard Daniel's voice. It was quiet, low, almost tender. I stopped in my tracks, my heart skipping a beat. It wasn't the way he spoke to me. I hesitated. But then I heard it again, a soft chuckle, followed by his words, yeah, I miss you too. I froze. I thought it was just a joke. Maybe a conversation with one of his friends. But no, the words, the tone, it was different. My curiosity spiked, but I quickly scolded myself for eavesdropping. Still, I couldn't pull myself away. I glanced around, hoping to find something that would tell me it was just innocent. But when I saw his phone sitting on the counter unlocked, my fingers itched to pick it up. I shouldn't. I knew I shouldn't, but I did. I unlocked the screen, and my heart skipped a beat. A series of messages from someone named Claire filled the screen. My fingers trembled as I scrolled through the texts. I hate that I have to hide this from her. She's so clueless. Thinking I'm still in love with her. But you know how it is. I stopped. My heart lurched in my chest. This was real. This was happening. The messages continued. She's useful for now. Keeps me sane. But she doesn't get it. I need someone who understands me. I stumbled backward, the phone slipping from my hands. The words blurred in front of me as my mind raced. Useful for now? Was he really saying that about me? I could feel my blood run cold. I didn't need to read anymore. The damage was done. I grabbed the phone, my hands shaking, and quickly made my way to the living room where Daniel was still talking, unaware. I stood there for a moment, the phone in my hands like a weight I couldn't drop. I walked toward him, my heart pounding as I approached. He didn't hear me until I was standing right in front of him. Daniel, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He looked up, startled, and quickly ended the call. What's wrong? His voice was guarded, almost as if he knew. I thrust the phone at him, unable to contain the words that were clawing their way out of my chest. Who's Claire? He paled. His eyes flicked to the phone, then back to me. What are you talking about? I felt my chest tighten. Don't lie to me. I heard you. I read the messages. His eyes dropped to the phone in my hands, and his face went completely blank. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. For a moment, we stood there, a silent battle playing out between us. Why? I managed to whisper, my voice breaking. Why would you do this? Daniel looked away, his jaw tightening. He ran a hand through his hair, something he always did when he was frustrated or avoiding a conversation. Claire is someone from my past. We've talked a few times. It's nothing, Claire. I swear. Nothing? My voice rose, the hurt and anger pushing through me. You've been confiding in her, telling her things you've never told me. You said I was useful for now. What does that even mean, Daniel? His eyes shifted uneasily. You don't understand. You wouldn't then explain it to me. I shouted, my hands shaking. What's going on, Daniel? Am I just some placeholder for you? Someone you're tolerating until you can be with her? He stood there, his expression unreadable. It's not like that, he said quietly, his voice low but cold. I don't owe you an explanation. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. I'm your wife, I whispered, the words thick in my throat. You owe me everything. You owe me the truth. Why, Daniel? Why her? His eyes darkened, and for a brief moment, I saw something flash across his face, guilt, maybe, or shame. But it disappeared as quickly as it came. You don't get it, Claire, he said, his voice sharp now. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want to deal with everything. With you, with us. It's easier to talk to her. She listens. She doesn't expect anything from me. The weight of his words crushed me. So, I'm too much for you? I asked, barely able to breathe. I'm not enough? Daniel stepped back, his face filled with frustration. No, that's not it. You don't understand. You never will. I felt the sting of his rejection, the coldness of his words, pressing against me. I loved you, Daniel. I trusted you, I said, my voice trembling. But now I don't even recognize you. He didn't respond. Instead, he turned away, walking toward the door. The finality of his actions was like a slap in the face. Where are you going? I asked, though I already knew the answer. He didn't look back. I need some space. The words were like a knife in my chest. Space. Like we could ever just put a distance between us and make everything go away. He was already walking out the door, and I could feel the world around me shifting. The man I had married, the one I thought I knew, was slipping away, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. I was alone again. I locked myself in the bathroom, the only place I could escape to. My hands were shaking as I gripped his phone, the screen still cracked with the weight of his lies. I sank to the floor, the cold tiles pressing against my legs, but I couldn't feel it. All I could feel was the tightness in my chest, the suffocating pain that had taken over every inch of me. I stared at the phone, my reflection in the mirror behind me showing a woman I didn't recognize. Her face was pale, her eyes red from crying, her hair messy and unkempt. She looked exhausted, broken, humiliated. I almost didn't want to be her. I dropped the phone on the floor and buried my face in my hands, letting the tears fall freely. How did it come to this? I kept asking myself. How did I end up here? The tears came and went, as though my body was trying to purge the weight of everything that had been said. I hated that I was crying. I hated that I felt so small. I had always been strong, but now, I was falling apart. I couldn't even face my own reflection anymore. I didn't recognize that woman staring back at me. She wasn't the confident woman who married a man she believed in. She wasn't the woman who swore to love him, to stand by him, no matter what. No. This woman, this broken version of myself, was a stranger, and it hurt. I heard the faint sound of my phone vibrating on the counter, but I couldn't bring myself to check it. My friends had been texting, calling, worried about me. They had noticed the change in me, how quiet I had become, how distant. They wanted to help, but I didn't want to burden them with the truth. So, I told them I was fine. Every time. I'm fine, I had said so many times over the past few days. Everything's fine. But nothing was fine. Not anymore. I couldn't stop thinking about his words, about how easily he dismissed me, how easily he let me believe we were still a team, when all along, he was lying. The lies and betrayal replayed in my mind over and over again like a broken record. She's useful for now. The words haunted me. How had I been so blind? All this time, I thought we were building something together, but it was all an illusion. I was just a placeholder, a convenient distraction. The anger was slow to rise, but it came sharp and hot. It burned inside me, growing stronger with every thought. How dare he? He had played me. He had played with my heart, my trust. He'd made me believe in something that didn't exist. I had loved him with everything I had, and he had thrown it all away. I stood up abruptly, wiping the tears from my face, my reflection in the mirror now matching the fire burning inside me. Enough. I couldn't let this go on. I couldn't stay in this place of silence, of uncertainty. It was time to take back control. I looked at the phone again, my fingers hovering over the screen. There was something I needed to do, something I needed to say, but first, I needed answers. I grabbed my phone, sending a text to one of my closest friends. I need to talk. Can you meet me? I didn't care if I was still hurting, if the wound was still fresh. I needed to make sense of this. I needed to tell someone, to scream if I had to. I couldn't keep it inside anymore. The phone buzzed almost immediately. Of course. Where? The cafe down the street in an hour. I sat on the edge of the tub, my fingers tapping nervously on my knees. My mind was racing with all the questions I couldn't answer. How could I have missed all the signs? How could I have been so blind to what was really happening? I was angry at myself, at him, at the whole damn situation. But as much as I hated it, I knew I couldn't just bury this anger. I had to let it out. And I had to start making choices that would set me free from this hurt. I stood up again, this time with more purpose, wiping the last of my tears away. The woman in the mirror was still me, but she wasn't the same. She wasn't the woman who had fallen blindly in love. She was stronger now, even if the pain was still there. I looked at myself one last time before grabbing my purse and heading out the door. I wasn't going to let this break me. I started keeping my own journal. It wasn't anything grand, just a simple notebook I bought at the store. But each page felt like a small victory, my thoughts on paper, my pain turning into words, my anger into something I could control. Every cruel word, every betrayal, went into it. Every time he looked at me with indifference or said something that cut deep, I wrote it down. It felt like a release, even if it didn't change anything in the moment. At first, I couldn't bring myself to write about the things that hurt the most, but slowly, the words began to pour out. She's useful for now. That line, his line, was etched into my mind, and it was the first thing I wrote down. It was like a contract I was signing with myself, one that promised I wouldn't forget what he had done to me. I didn't know what I was going to do with this journal yet, but it was my secret. It was mine. And that was something I hadn't felt in a long time. I kept up appearances around him, pretending, smiling when he came home, nodding at his words like I was still the devoted wife he had once known. He didn't deserve the real me. He didn't deserve my hurt, my sorrow, my pain. So I kept it hidden. I played the part, but inside, I was changing. The anger I had buried for so long was becoming something else, a shield. When he'd look at me, expecting the same old me, I would smile. But it wasn't the same smile anymore. It was hollow. One evening, he came home late, and as usual, I was sitting in the living room, pretending everything was normal. He sank onto the couch beside me, his voice sounding drained. "Long day," he muttered. I barely looked at him. "Yeah, I know. You told me." He let out a tired sigh, and for a moment, I felt the familiar pang of guilt. "Why don't you just be kind to him?" my mind whispered. "Why can't you just forgive him?" But then I remembered the journal. I remembered the lies, the betrayal, the cruelty behind his words. I turned to him, forcing a smile. "How was your meeting?" I asked, my voice flat. His eyes flickered to mine, but they didn't hold the same warmth they used to. "Fine, just the usual." I nodded. "I see." He leaned back, stretching his arms out, oblivious to the storm brewing in me. "What did you do today?" "Nothing much. Just the usual," I said. It was easy to say, easier than telling him. I'd been sitting here plotting my next move. He looked at me with tired eyes. "You should get out more, Claire. Do something for yourself." I almost laughed. Do something for myself? I had been doing nothing but giving everything for him, for us. But I didn't say that. Instead, I just nodded. Maybe. I was pretending again. Pretending to care. Pretending that the man sitting next to me hadn't torn apart everything I thought we had. But inside, a shift was happening. I didn't know yet what my revenge would look like, but I knew it wouldn't be this. I wouldn't be his doormat anymore. I wouldn't be the one who cried and begged for his love. I began to think about myself, about who I used to be before him, before all the lies. I thought about what I wanted. "Maybe you're right," I said, almost to myself. "Maybe I do need to get out more." His eyes softened, and for a split second, I saw the man I had once fallen for. But then the moment passed, and I was left alone again, with only my journal to remind me of what had been lost. The anger inside me continued to build, a quiet but steady flame that refused to be extinguished. I wasn't sure what form my revenge would take, but I knew it was coming. I wasn't going to let him walk all over me anymore. That night, I wrote more in my journal. The words flowed easier now. Each page was a reminder of who I was becoming, stronger, more focused. I didn't cry anymore. I didn't need to. The woman I was becoming didn't need his approval. She didn't need his love. She needed her dignity back. The next morning, as I stood in front of the mirror, I didn't see the woman who had been broken. I saw someone else. Someone who had been buried for far too long. Someone with fire in her eyes. I wasn't his victim. Not anymore. When he kissed me goodbye that morning, I kissed him back. But there was no warmth in it. There was no love. It was just another performance. But this time, I wasn't pretending for him anymore. I was pretending for me. And I was getting closer to the real me, the one who had the power to decide her own future, and whatever that future looked like. I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to be his fool again. It started slowly, the shift in Daniel's world. At first, I didn't think much of it. He came home from work one day with a furrowed brow, his usual confidence shaken. He didn't tell me what was going on at first. He never did, but I could see it in his eyes. "Something wrong?" I asked, not lifting my gaze from the book I was pretending to read. He hesitated, his lips pressing into a thin line. "It's nothing," he muttered, but I could hear the stress in his voice. The next few days were filled with tense silence. He barely spoke at all, and when he did, it was to mention the company his business partner had been pulling away, and things were getting complicated. I didn't ask questions. I didn't need to. I knew the signs. He was losing control. As the week went on, I started to see him unravel. His business partner, the one who had always been there to support him, was no longer answering his calls. The debts were piling up, and the once thriving business was suddenly teetering on the edge of collapse. I watched him struggle, his face drawn and tired. He leaned on me more than ever. "Claire, I need you right now," he would say, his voice full of desperation. I don't know how I'm going to fix this, but I didn't respond. I couldn't. My heart wasn't in it anymore. I didn't care about fixing him. I didn't care about making everything right again. And then, it hit me. Claire, the woman he had always trusted, the one he confided in when he couldn't talk to me, was growing distant. I noticed it in the way he checked his phone with increasing frustration, his eyes darting to the screen, as if waiting for a response that never came. She had turned on him, too. I let the silence stretch between us. He had no idea that I knew exactly what was happening. I knew about the phone calls, the texts, the secret exchanges. Now, he was finally starting to understand how it felt. One night, as I watched him try and fail to fix what was crumbling around him, I finally spoke. "Seems like you're on your own," I said, my voice calm, almost detached. He looked at me, his face a mix of confusion and frustration. "What are you talking about? You're all I have left." I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I turned to face him, meeting his eyes for the first time in days. "No, you've always had her, Claire, the one you trusted, the one you ran to when things went wrong, the one who." I stopped, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. "Where is she now?" His face reddened, and he averted his gaze. She's just busy. It's not what you think." I almost laughed. "Really? Because it looks like she's abandoning you when you need her most." He didn't say anything after that, and I didn't push him. I didn't need to. Karma was already doing its work. Over the next few days, Daniel's frustration grew. I could see him falling apart, piece by piece, as his company collapsed and his relationship with Claire faltered. His phone rang constantly, but no one was on the other end. He tried calling his business partner, but the line was always busy. The weight of everything was too much for him to bear alone. And for the first time, he looked at me like he was searching for something, anything, some kind of support that he could no longer find in the world around him. But I didn't offer him comfort. I didn't say anything when he came to me, pleading for help. I simply looked at him and said, "I can't help you, Daniel. Not this time." His eyes narrowed in disbelief. "You're really just going to watch me fall?" "I'm not watching you," I said softly. "I'm watching karma do its thing." He opened his mouth to argue, but no words came out. The silence was deafening, and for the first time, I didn't feel the need to fill it. I was no longer his savior. I wasn't going to be the one to fix his mistakes anymore. The days that followed were full of quiet, strained moments. I watched him struggle, but I didn't intervene. I wasn't going to rush to his side, to pick up the pieces of his broken life. He had chosen to live in a world of lies, and now he was facing the consequences. I wasn't going to shield him from that. One evening, he sat at the kitchen table, his head in his hands. "I don't know what to do anymore," he whispered. I watched him from the doorway, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction in his despair. For once, it wasn't me who was suffering. It wasn't me who was trapped in a world of emptiness and lies. "You should have thought about that before," I said quietly, my voice colder than I intended. His head snapped up, eyes wide with hurt. "You've changed, Claire." I nodded, almost smiling. "I have," and as I turned away, I felt a strange peace wash over me. This was what I needed. This was my first step toward reclaiming myself. Karma was finally in motion. And for the first time, I wasn't the one left behind. It was late when he finally came to me, his face a mix of exhaustion and humiliation. I could see it in his eyes. He was on the edge. His world had completely unraveled, and all that was left was the hollow shell of a man who thought he could control everything, only to find himself lost. "Claire," he whispered my name like it was the last thing he could say before breaking. "Please, you have to understand. This isn't what I wanted." I didn't even look up from the book I was pretending to read. The words in front of me blurred, my mind focused on him. He wanted me to believe in him again, He wanted me to fix him. I couldn't do that anymore. I wouldn't. He walked toward me, his hands shaking as he reached out. I've been a fool. I never should have pushed you away. I closed the book and placed it on the table. Slowly, I looked at him, my heart no longer aching with sympathy. Instead, all I felt was cold distance. What do you want from me, Daniel? He looked down, his face pale and drawn. I want you to forgive me. I need you. Please. I know I've hurt you, but I swear I never loved her. You were always the one. I made a mistake, Claire. I was weak, and I thought I could handle everything. I didn't want to hurt you. His voice cracked on the last words, and for a moment, I almost felt a tug of something compassion, maybe. But then I remembered the journal, the messages, the words he had written, and I felt nothing but disdain. You didn't love her? I asked, my voice flat. Then why did you spend all that time with her? Why did you lie to me for so long? His face twisted in pain, his eyes pleading. I didn't mean it. I was selfish. I was stupid. But I swear, you're the only one I've ever wanted. Claire, please. I couldn't look at him anymore. The desperation in his voice only made me feel stronger, more certain of what I needed to do. It doesn't matter now, Daniel, I said, my words sharp. You can beg, you can cry, but I'm not the same person I was. You destroyed that woman. You destroyed me. His breath hitched. No, Claire, I'm so sorry. I've always loved you. You have to believe me. I need you now. I need your forgiveness. I leaned back, crossing my arms, and let the silence fill the space between us. I didn't feel sorry for him. I didn't feel sorry for myself either. I can't believe you anymore, I said, my voice steady, almost calm. You've lied to many times, and now, you're crying because your world is falling apart? It's too late for me to care about that. You never cared about what you did to me. You never cared about how I felt. I saw him flinch, and for a second, it was like I could feel his pride crumbling. His shoulders sagged, and I almost felt sorry for him, but I stopped myself. I had learned too much in these past few weeks. I had learned that I didn't need him. He sank to his knees in front of me, his voice breaking. Please, don't leave me like this. I can't lose you. Not now. I looked down at him, feeling strangely powerful. He was begging me, pleading with me, and I realized something that made my heart race with strength, not fear. I had the power now. His desperation was all I needed to see. The man who had once thought himself invincible was now on his knees, broken, and begging for the very thing he had taken for granted. And I didn't feel a hint of pity for him. I'm not going to save you, I said slowly, letting the words sink in. I'm not going to fix this. You've made your bed, Daniel, and now you have to lie in it. He looked up at me, his eyes wide, still searching for any trace of the woman who once loved him. But she was gone. That woman had died the moment I found his journal. The moment I realized how easily he had discarded me for someone else. I don't need you anymore, I whispered, finally letting the words I had been holding back spill free. I don't need your love to survive. I've survived this far without it. His face crumpled, the last threads of his pride falling away. But I love you. I've always loved you. I shook my head. That's not enough anymore. It's too late. He reached out, grabbing my hand, but I pulled away, the anger simmering just below the surface. Don't touch me, I snapped. I'm not the woman you once knew. I've changed. And I stopped myself, my voice breaking, but I quickly regained control. You're not worth my time anymore. I stood up, turning away from him. I didn't look back. I couldn't. For the first time in my life, I felt stronger than him. I felt free. I didn't need his love. I didn't need his apology. All I needed was to let go. And I was finally doing it. I sat at my desk that evening, the pen in my hand trembling. Not because of fear, but because of something else, something I hadn't felt in a long time. Clarity. The room was silent. The only sound was the scratching of my pen on paper as I poured my heart out. My words, though written for him, were really for me. I needed to say them, to finally get it all out. The letter started slow, the words coming in a rush, one after another. Daniel, I don't even know how to begin, but I have to say it. You broke me. You made me believe in a future that was never really ours. I gave you my everything, my love, my devotion, my patience, and in return, you gave me nothing but lies. I believed you when you told me we were a team, when you promised me your heart, but you were never really mine, were you? I paused, reading what I'd written. It was raw, honest, and painful, but I knew I needed to finish. I had to let it all out. I thought love could fix everything. I thought it would save us, but I was wrong. All it did was break me. Every time you looked at me and I saw nothing behind your eyes, I died a little. Every time you chose her over me, I felt invisible. Every time you lied to my face, I lost a piece of who I was. And now, all I'm left with is the ruins of a woman who gave everything, but received nothing in return. I deserve better than this, Daniel. I stopped again, the heaviness in my chest almost suffocating. But I pushed through, determined to say everything I needed to. You don't deserve me. You never did. I can't keep living like this, caught between what you want and what I need. You took everything from me and gave me nothing. So, I'm done. I'm done waiting for you to change. I'm done hoping for the man I thought you were. I'm done loving someone who doesn't even love me back. The words burned as I wrote them. Each sentence a final goodbye to the version of me who had desperately tried to save him. To save us. This is the last time I'll ever let you break me. I'll move on. I'll find peace, even if I have to find it alone. But I'll be free. And you? You'll be left with nothing but your own mistakes. I felt the weight of the letter lift from my shoulders as I finished it. But even as I read the final words, a part of me hesitated. I didn't want him to see this. He didn't deserve it. I carefully folded the letter, sealing it in an envelope. But I didn't send it. I knew I couldn't. There was no point. Sending it would only give him the power to respond, to pull me back into his world. No, I didn't need that. I placed the letter in a drawer, closed it, and let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. The quiet that followed felt different, peaceful. That night, I slept better than I had in months. For the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't wake up with that constant ache in my chest. The silence was deafening in a way that was comforting, not suffocating. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to shout at him. The silence I had created was louder than anything I could have said. It was in that silence that I realized something profound. I didn't need him to hear me. I didn't need his apology. I didn't need him to read that letter. The words weren't for him. They were for me. I had found my voice again, and I didn't need him to validate it. And as I lay there in the quiet, I felt the tiniest flicker of hope. For the first time, I was truly free. It felt surreal, standing in the middle of the living room with my bags packed, ready to leave. Everything I had once known, this house, our life together, now felt foreign. The walls, once filled with memories, seemed to close in on me, suffocating. But I couldn't stay any longer. Not after everything that had happened. I heard him before I saw him. The sound of his footsteps, hurried and desperate, echoed through the hallway. Claire, please don't do this. We can fix it, he pleaded, his voice cracking. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. If I did, I'd only fall back into the trap he had set. Fix it? I whispered, my voice cold. How, Daniel? How do we fix something that was broken from the start? His footsteps came closer, and I felt him stop just behind me, his breath ragged. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean to hurt you. Please don't go. I need you. I wanted to say something. I wanted to tell him that I had been there, that I had given everything, but the words caught in my throat. I wasn't the same woman who used to beg for his love. That woman was gone. The one standing here now was someone stronger, someone who had learned that she didn't need him to survive. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I don't need you, Daniel. Not anymore. His voice grew frantic. You're just going to leave me like this? After everything? Don't you love me anymore? I finally turned around, meeting his eyes for the first time in days. I saw the man who had betrayed me, the man who had taken my love for granted, the man who had never truly seen me. I don't know what love is anymore, I said softly, but I know it's not this. It's not constant pain, not feeling like I'm invisible, not having to beg for someone's affection. I gave you everything, Daniel, and you gave me nothing in return. His face crumpled, and for a moment, I almost felt pity for him. But I quickly pushed it away. I've cried for you long enough, I continued, my voice steady. I've spent too many nights wondering what I did wrong, wondering why I wasn't enough. But I am enough, and I'm done trying to prove it to you. He took a step forward, reaching out as if to grab me, but I took a step back. Don't, I warned. Don't try to stop me. I couldn't stay here any longer. I couldn't be the person who kept holding on, kept hoping that things would magically get better. The truth was, I had been holding on to a ghost. And now, that ghost had no power over me. Please don't leave me, he whispered again, his voice broken. Please. But his words didn't affect me the way they once did. They no longer had the power to control me. I shook my head. I'm not the woman who begged for your love anymore. I'm not that person. There was silence for a long moment, and I realized that the silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was freeing. The weight of everything I had been carrying for so long was finally lifting. I could hear his breathing behind me, heavy and uneven, but I didn't turn around. I didn't need to see his face. I had already seen it too many times. Without another word, I picked up my bags and walked toward the door. My footsteps echoed in the hallway, the sound of each step marking the distance between the woman I had been and the woman I was becoming. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing: it wouldn't be tied to him anymore. As I reached the door, I paused, my hand resting on the handle. I didn't look back. I hope you find what you're looking for, Daniel, I said quietly, my voice almost a whisper. But it's not me. I opened the door and stepped outside, leaving everything behind, and for the first time in a long while, I felt free. Months had passed, but sometimes it still felt like yesterday. The apartment was quiet, save for the soft rustling of pages as I wrote in my journal. My new space, my sanctuary, felt different. It was mine and only mine. The walls weren't filled with memories of betrayal, but of new possibilities. It was here, sitting by the window, where I could finally breathe freely without the weight of his lies dragging me down. I lifted the pen to the page, the words flowing easily now, like I was reconnecting with a part of me that had been buried for too long. I am stronger than I ever thought I could be. My heart is mine again. The silence no longer stings. The wounds are healing, and every scar tells a story of survival, of strength, and of moving on. I stopped writing for a moment, my fingers resting on the pen. I thought about Daniel. He had tried to reach out countless times: calls, messages, even letters. Each time, I had ignored them. I couldn't go back. I wouldn't. He had fallen apart, and while I had once mourned for him, now I felt nothing but a distant pity. His world had collapsed, and mine had risen from the ashes. It was a strange feeling, knowing that everything he had built had crumbled, but also knowing that I had no part in it anymore. I was no longer part of his story. I had spent so many years trying to make things work with him, trying to save us. But now, I could see it clearly. I had been living in his shadow, drowning in his expectations, in his disappointments, and in his betrayals. But I wasn't there anymore. I didn't have to carry the burden of his mistakes. My phone buzzed beside me, and I stared at the screen. It was another message from him, and my heart didn't race like it used to. Instead, I felt nothing. I clicked the screen, reading his words without emotion. I know you're angry. I know I ruined everything. But I'm sorry. I need you. Please, Claire, come back. I'll change, I sighed, setting the phone down. It was the same message every time, the same empty promises. He had never changed. He never would. The old me might have replied, might have given in to the longing in his words, the hope that maybe, just maybe, he could love me the way I had always wanted. But I wasn't that woman anymore. I wasn't the woman who had to fight for his love. I wasn't the woman who begged for his attention. I had learned to love myself. I don't need you, I whispered to the empty room, the words feeling true and freeing. I never did. I smiled softly to myself as I picked up the pen again. The words came even easier this time. I thought I would never heal. I thought I would never find peace. But here I am, stronger than I ever imagined. The betrayal that once shattered me didn't break me, it built me. I am unbreakable. I am whole. I am free. The tears I had once cried for him, for us, no longer felt like a burden. They were part of the healing process, part of who I had become. They had washed away the remnants of the past, leaving space for something new. I was building a life for myself. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. Every step I took away from him had been a step toward freedom. I had no idea what the future held, but I knew one thing: it wouldn't be tied to him. I closed my journal, the final words of my entry lingering in the quiet room. This is my true beginning. For the first time, I didn't feel the need to explain myself, to seek approval, to try and make anyone understand. I had walked away from him, from the broken pieces of my old life, and I had found something better myself. I stood up, walking to the window and looking out at the city below. The world felt wide open, full of possibility. There were no more chains, no more limitations. There was only me, and that was enough. I had my heart back. And this time, it was my own.